It's been, God, like an eon. So welcome back to Pixelated Geek's E3 2015 press coverage. We're back providing the pre-show for EA. Sorry, there's 4 conferences today. So EA has, I think we were in agreement about this. Feel free to argue with me on it. I think EA has the most stable and weighty intellectual property library of the major publishers. I'm between the obvious stuff like Madden and FIFA and NBA and not Tiger, Rory McIlroy. I think that's right. Between their sports library has enough in sales to equal pretty much everyone else's sales in general, but it's EA.
It's this year. They have Star Wars now.
They have Star Wars. That's what we're talking about.
That's
we're going to talk about Battlefront.
Yeah,
that's all we're going to talk about. That's, yeah. There are a lot of titles that they could show us. They'll probably show us a Need for Speed.
Don't care.
Battlefront.
Yeah.
Battlefront is what we care about.
Need for Speed Battlefront. You could do it with the bike.
You really could.
Do it with the bikes.
You straight up could.
Yeah.
How about just Need for Battlefront?
Which we have.
A low-rider speeder?
We have a need for
I feel the need for Battlefront.
Yes.
So ultimately, I'm not sure what else we are going to see. I mean, I'm sure obviously we're going to see all the sports titles. We're going to see Need for Speed. What we really want to see is Battlefront. And
I would love to see some actual gameplay from a match, like a full. What, it's 24? Done 24?
I think it is 48. I think they did establish.
I want to see a 24-on-24 match. I don't care if it's a scripted as hell match.
Yeah.
I just want to see.
I want to see gameplay. I want to see user interface.
Yep.
I want to see a map. I'd like to see a legit map. And I mean, I personally do kind of not want to see a scripted press run through, because all that is a proof of concept. It's not the actual gameplay itself. And I think that we have faith that this game is going to be really solid. I think we do, and I think if it's not, they're going to
riot.
Yeah, it's going to be rough.
We won't be the only ones.
So I mean, in terms of what we're most excited about, that's Battlefront. What we expect to see, that's Battlefront. Things that we're predicting we'll see is new content from Battlefront. Yeah, in all seriousness, that's what this press conference is about, and it should be, because this is going to be a big year. Okay, so it's running up against Halo 5, it's running up against Fallout 4, it's running up against, help me out with other games that matter, because all I'm thinking about is Battlefront.
Running up against itself.
Tomb Raider.
Tomb Raider. There are a lot of games that are coming out this year that are a big deal, but this year, this E3, and this year is ready to be won or lost by E3.
2143 maybe.
That's something else. Yeah, that's. I mean, I think
I'm not expecting to, but
I'm not either. But that last map pack,
even if it's just the logo for it on a black screen, where there's and they play some sound effects of either a mech walking past or something, how the loading screen for 2042 was.
Yeah,
they came out there and you hear the jump.
Yeah,
even if it's just that.
Yeah. So we should really clarify that for those of you who never played that game.
I'm so specific.
There was a game back in the day, Battlefield 2142, that was pretty much one of the best things ever. I mean, I think it's still my favorite Battlefield game. And so what we've seen recently, in Battlefield Bad Company 2, we had the 1940. Was the 1940
Vietnam? They did the Vietnam as well.
Yeah, and the Vietnam expansions. And so what we're hoping to see, because those games brought back the multiplayer content from the older titles, we're hoping that DICE will reveal 2143 in Battlefield 4. That said, if you guys are too busy working on what is that game that they're making?
Battle something.
It's
Battleback.
It's like Star Trek Battle
Zone?
Stargate.
Yeah. What?
Oh, yeah, the new Stargate game.
Yeah.
Since the last one bombed, EA is going to redo it.
There you go.
And I would play that game.
So,
I'm sad now.
You know what'll make you feel better?
Battlefront.
Thanks so much for watching, guys. We're going to kick the live blog in a second here, and we will see you right after the show with some analysis of Star...
Is it still fresh? Is it still
Citizen!
still
Star
funny?
Citizen.
This is still funny. All right.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I thought it was funny. All right, we'll see you guys in a little bit. Thanks so much. Bye. Hey everybody, and welcome back to Pixelated Geek's coverage of E3 2015. We just finished watching the EA press conference, which was essentially an hour of napping and then 5 minutes of exactly what we wanted. So, I think in the pre-show we mentioned a little title that's coming out this holiday called Star Wars Battlefront. Yeah.
They knew what they had.
Yep.
And they sat on it.
They did. They sat on it the whole show, and it was amazing because top of the show they mentioned that they had it, and then they said, "Oh, that's gonna happen."
They knew the banner. The
Yeah, they had banners
said,
too.
In 50 minutes.
Yep.
Star Wars Battlefront.
And then every 15 minutes or so, they would update it with what was coming next. But what was coming next was really just an excuse to say how much time they had until they showed Battlefront. And so we are going to talk about one or two things before we get to Battlefront very briefly. Guess what? Surprise! There's going to be a Madden, FIFA, and not a Tiger, but a Rory McIlroy this year.
And
all the EA
NHL?
Sports titles are coming out. There's going to be an NHL. So all the games that come out every single year from EA are coming out this year. You heard it here first. Scoop. On top of that, Plants vs. Zombies, Garden Warfare 2, which actually looks pretty cool.
Yeah, a game that didn't need a sequel.
I don't think it needed a sequel.
No.
I think I would have been okay if they had done DLC.
I mean, and I remember, if I remember correctly, and you bought it too. When it came out, it wasn't $60.
No, I bought it day one. I think it was like 30.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
even for a sequel, they handled the first one well.
Mm-hmm.
It was fairly priced for exactly what it was. Everything they did post-release entirely free. Something they are continuing with the sequel.
Mm-hmm.
They've added new things to keep it interesting. Really, I think amongst us, it just made us want to play the first one again.
Yeah, I wonder to some degree. I mean,
Yeah.
first of all, I'd like to see the pricing on that because I hope that's not going to be a $60 game. I hope it's also
It won't be.
the same.
It won't
It looks good. I mean, it's definitely a compelling looking title. I think my biggest issue with it is just its timing in comparison to some competitors.
Yeah, it's not a. I mean, it's certainly obviously not a AAA or blockbuster game. It's not something you're going to camp out to get.
No.
It is exactly what the other one was to me, which was a fun, light diversion from when you get this overburdened feeling of, oh my god, I have so many games to play.
Yeah.
I'm so tired of I'm in a gap waiting for a new game to come out. I need something fresh to do. And you sit down, you play that game, you get lost in it for a couple of hours, and it's like being a kid again. The game is simple, it's fun, there's no meta level thinking. There's not I've got to sort of in around on these people. You just do it, and it's
a
fun,
lot of
easy.
What I find that we run into, the three of us, and I know it's because we kind of have to play games sometimes, is that games get so dark and they get so serious and they get so intensive, and there's a lot of games just forget that they're games. And I appreciate trying to elevate the art form into a more mature sort of narrative, and but sometimes you just need a game, and that's a game. And
That's
it's
exactly
fun.
what that is.
And so, I mean, that's cool. There was a big thing actually at the top of the show, which was just a reveal for Mass Effect Andromeda.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Unraveled.
Yeah, we'll deal with that in a second. But so, Mass Effect on Andromeda, which presumably takes place in the Andromeda Galaxy, because, Andromeda, I don't know. I might be going out on a limb with that one. But it definitely looks cool. Showed look, planet, and then it showed a crazy-ass Mako.
Yeah.
That thing looked fast. That's very exciting. Will be great when it comes out in 2020, presumably.
And for the Xbox players, you can play the old Mass Effects to refresh yourself.
Absolutely, they did throw that out there. Mirror's Edge 2, probably out of everything that we saw, other than the obvious, I think Mirror's Edge 2 is probably the most exciting.
Yeah,
beautiful game.
Yeah.
Apparently open world, which for some reason I didn't expect that. They said no levels, and then they said open city. So I don't know what exactly that means.
Well, if it's I mean, this is the prequel to the original title. So in theory, the job of being a courier is not one that necessarily has clear starts and finishes. You would run around and pick up a job and then do it and then keep going. I guess it kind of fits with the main flow of the game.
I think it's well suited. I was just a little bit surprised because of the visual polish. I don't know. Yeah. I just don't expect open world games to have a lot of visual polish.
Could be like Dishonored, where it's zones that you do.
Yeah, and still kind of open world. The way Dishonored or Thief handled it. Okay, yeah. Looked beautiful. One of the things that was sort of noticeable, like across the board, everything was beautiful. Need for Speed looked great. And I think that has a lot to do with the fact that EA has really dedicated itself to two major engines. Everybody that works for all of the companies that makes games for EA has a lot of experience with either the Frostbite engine or the Impact. It's not the Impact engine. What is the EA Sports engine?
Inferno?
I don't know that that's right. But regardless, there's one engine for all EA Sports games as well, and so you can see that.
Ignite.
Ignite. That's right. So everything looked really, really, really good, but nothing looked as good as I'm blanking on it again. Battlefront. Yes, Battlefront. That's right. So
it's gonna be funny.
One day. So what struck me? I mean, obviously, the thing about Battlefront that really sets it apart is that you're looking at a combination of photogrammetry, which is utilizing actual visual imagery to create an object. The original props from the trilogy, they're using studies of the sort of visual effects from the trilogy, and then you're using a very good engine that they're very used to. And so the game looked gorgeous, but what really I think blew all of us away, we all had a massive verbal reaction to it, was the character model for Luke Skywalker.
They went back in time, picked up Mark Hamill, and then put him in Tron, and then they made Tron Battlefront.
That's the best character model I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Hands down.
And it was in engine. This was not pre-rendered. No. And even when they did the gameplay, and they actually they showed a bit of like playing as the hero character, as Skywalker. He looked the exact same way as he did like in that isolated screenshot they showed us the first time.
Just that game. From the second that gameplay trailer started to the end of it, you could see an unprecedented level of detail and incredible visual realism. Ragdolls normally look dumb.
Yeah.
The reason why we call them ragdolls is because they have this sort of weird, collapsing sack of grain kind of thing to them. And, when people flew through the air and, landed on something or, died and fell, it looked great.
When they were running, they fell, with momentum.
Yeah.
And, it just... I've never seen body animations like that.
I've never seen anything like that.
And, they talked that up in Battlefield 4, and... I don't know if it's because I've played so much with that I just don't notice those things anymore, but in that it looks spectacular.
Yeah.
And maybe it's because they've reduced the player count. Like they talk about, they focus on more of the details, so they really make sure that things like that really stand out and are really, really polished.
I actually don't think the player count decreases bad, because that means
you
have these more intimate squad battles where you've got...
And I'm thinking back on the games of Battlefield 4 that we play, because we play that game pretty regularly together. I don't know that we're often in 30 versus 30 matches. I remember plenty of 24 versus 24, plenty of 12 on 12s. I've done the multiple size fights, and I think as long as the player count is well suited to the map size,
that's what matters.
And the respawn time and everything like that.
Yeah, and I think that DICE has more history and experience balancing those aspects, player count, map size, design philosophy, than anyone else. It didn't look empty.
No.
It didn't look empty at all. And it didn't appear to be a huge map. But it looked amazing. It looked amazing top to bottom.
Because when they were showing you mentioned the photorealism, the inside of the cockpits of both the Snowspeeder and the TIE Fighter, the airspace seemed crowded enough that it seemed appropriate, as it was this it's a battle over this one particular area of the planet. It's not going to be in a way, our original thoughts of are we going to see out of atmosphere to inner atmosphere battle in one map? in a way that almost wouldn't make sense. I mean, yes, there would be a battle going on outside the atmosphere, depending upon what the situation.
But it would be difficult to have a continuity.
Right.
Like it would be if you were in orbit in a fight and there was something going on down there, you would be disconnected from it.
Yeah,
you wouldn't be in a position to affect the match.
Yeah.
And we saw item pickups like the rocket launcher.
We did.
Like that.
How those worked.
So,
some of the UI was just a little bit over-present for me. Like, the little floating hologram of the weapon pickup was strange. That was the only one that really got me, because like some of the other holograms, like they make sense because there's holograms in Star Wars and that's just the thing. But like it was just like a floating rebel symbol and like he walked through it and then had a rocket launcher, as opposed to like there being a rocket launcher on the ground. It's a little nitpicky stuff.
I know that's a placeholder, but they need to make sure that there's something so you know that it's there.
Yeah,
I mean, if it was just like some crates with one leaning against it, you could run right past it and not know it's
because
there.
it matters to pick up these things now. It's
Yeah,
not like I could use this. It's now, you need this.
And when we saw him use it, the way that the ATST cockpit just
disintegrated and it collapsed. It's not just the body's animation that looks amazing. Like everything about the vehicles feels incredibly real.
The sounds too.
Yeah.
When there was like the weapons fire that was missing, like the sparks, it was just like it was in a movie.
It was Star Wars.
We
just saw Star Wars.
Oh my god!
I'm so excited about this game. And the thing is, we knew that it was going to look good.
Yeah.
I was just really worried that everything that we had seen static, and then everything that we had seen that was an asset, just somehow it wasn't quite going to gel and work.
And that was the PS4 version too.
Yeah. So favorite thing is that
they picked that version to show.
Yeah. So I don't know how that's going to translate to the Xbox One, presumably identically. I can't imagine. Like generally, what happens when you're doing like across platforms and on PC, you take the limitations of the most limited device and you code for that.
Yeah.
And then you can do fun things if it's more powerful. You can upscale or whatever. We know that the console version is going to look amazing.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. One thing that stood out to me that I wouldn't have expected was when they were setting up they basically doing the establishing shot of where you were going to start inside the tunnels. Like some snow fell, and when it hit the ground, it was like that's how actually a piece of snow would fall and hit other snow.
Yeah.
Before it'd be just like a chunk, and it hits this other chunk and like just.
And it would be an animation that looks like it kind of doesn't belong, and it would hit, and it wouldn't look like it matched, and then it would just disappear.
So console version looks
good,
amazing,
right? And that makes us all feel a lot better because we're gonna get an even prettier version of that game. Yeah. So bam, So thank you so much for tuning in. You should probably go buy Battlefield. Is what you should do. Because that's what you should be playing. Battlefield. Battlefront. See, I keep forgetting the name because it's not that big a deal.
Star Wars.
Seriously, amazing title. Looks incredibly good. EA's press conference was on the whole disappointing because they knew they had a big shiny win button at the end.
Yep.
I don't even think they're really prepared. They're just like, just throw some shit up there. Like a dude who, plays with his yarn buddy in the wilderness. We're just going to let that play. Thanks so much for watching this. We'll be right back with Ubisoft at 6 p.m. Thanks.